what's up everyone, it's your girl Brain Sinead, and today I'll be sharing with you my September wrap-up. So if you want to know all the books I ended up reading at the end of September, please stay tuned. And I am back, and also if you're new to my channel, welcome. If not, welcome back. So like I said before, I'll be sharing with you my September wrap-up. You already saw my September mid-month wrap-up, which I'll leave up above so you can check that out just in case you missed it. So this is all the books that I read towards the end of September, which I'm glad that I was able to read a few books. I was a little bit worried because that's when I started my job, and I didn't know how many books I could fit into my schedule and stuff like that, but I was able to manage. So the first book, or one of the books that I did finish reading in September, was Dune by Frank Herbert. I did a whole video for just this book alone because I was really excited because I had watched the movie prior to reading the book, and I felt like I was missing something. I felt I was missing details because the movie wasn't adding up to me. I was confused as hell. So of course I read the book and then I watched the movie again, and it all makes sense, and I cannot wait to read the next book, and I'm looking forward to the movie now. I think they're already in production for the second movie. I'm not sure, but I'm really excited to read the next one. I already have pre-ordered my special editions. The two other books are coming out, so it'll match this edition as well. So I'm really excited about that. But of course I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, but I'm gonna let y'all watch my video for this book so I can give you more in depth of how I really thought about the book and the movie and the differences between the book and the movie and what I prefer. So I'll leave that video up above so you can check that out after you watch this one. So yeah, I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, but that's all I'm going to tell y'all. Y'all got to watch my other video for that one. And then the next book that I read, which I gave 3 out of 5 stars, and this is for the Brandon Sanderson read-along that Bree from Bree Sure Reads and I are doing throughout the year. And who knows what next year may bring. And that is Brandon Sanderson, The Way of Kings. This is book 1 of the Stormlight Archives. I know a lot of people love the Stormlight Archives. I know a lot of people love this book. I don't know what was wrong with me in September, but I wasn't feeling it. Like, it was dragging, it was lagging. There was some good fight scenes. There was some goodness in this book. It's just, it seemed really slow and I just couldn't get into it. And then I'm thinking to myself, is it me? Is it my mood? Because I'm a mood reader. And then I'm like, nah, it's really the book, in my opinion. Like, it's the book for me. And it wasn't hitting like I wanted it to, because a lot of people were talking this book up, and it just wasn't hitting. And I'm hoping in the second book in the Stormlight Archives that'll be better. But 3 is still good, but I was expecting just a little bit more from this one. But I know this is an introduction to a whole new world, so I'm trying to give Brandon Sanderson some grace when it comes to that. So it's like it's a lot of filled with information and very descriptive about everything. So I do get it, since this is the first book, there's going to be a lot of details, a lot of descriptions throughout the first book. But hopefully in the second book there will be, of course, some descriptions of more characters coming, but I feel like I have a better sense of this world, so hopefully it won't be too much in the second book, and the second book is even longer than this one. But yeah, I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. And also, if you haven't watched our live discussion for this book, I'll leave it up above so you can check that out. And then we'll be having our next live discussion in November for the second book in the Stormlight Archives on my channel, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. The next book, this was one of my books the book that I picked for my memberships for September, and I'm so happy that I finally read this book, and we actually just had our live discussion recently for this book, and I tabbed it up and it was so good to the point where I ordered the first 2 books in the series that was within this world, because this is a prequel, and that is The Sword of Kaigen, a Theonite war story by M.L. Wong. This is, of course, adult fantasy. I've been into adult fantasy pretty much this whole year, and I'm really happy about that. It was one of my goals for this year, so I think I killed it, hopefully. But yeah, I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. This is just a whole new world. I had a live discussion, so I'll leave that up above, because I loved it. I loved the main character Misaki, and the duel scene between her and her husband Takaru. I feel like since she was in a marriage where her voice wasn't heard, and she was just a wife who her role was to take care of the household and to have kids, and then the tragic stuff happened with her son in general and where they live, which is Kaigen. I think all that just came out because she was just so frustrated and pissed at the same time. So she dueled her husband. So that scene was definitely memorable, and it's so memorable to the point where I signed up for the special edition for ML Wong's special edition for the Sword of Kaigen. Like, I'm ready for the Kickstarter so she can have my coins, because I really enjoyed this book and I really want that special edition, because the cover of the special edition has a scene where Misaki is dueling Takaru. So that's an epic scene in this book that I feel like if you haven't read this book, I suggest you do so, because it is amazing and I loved it. But of course, I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. Next book, I did a whole individual standalone review for this one. I fell in love with this book. It made me cry. It had me in tears. I don't want to get more into it. You definitely have to watch that review, and that is The Door of No Return by Kwame Alexander. Of course, I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. It was just heartbreaking. It makes me think about my ancestors, about my family's past, and just thinking about that journey across the ocean to many different places. And this definitely took my soul. Like, it makes me even having this book in my hand and thinking about what I read, it still has me. It took me, I still think about this book. And so I really like how many books have done that to me this year, and I'm really grateful that they have, because it makes you think about your own life. It makes you think about your family, and it makes you think about what you want their future to be, and if you can make their future better than what it is now, and having hope for the future. So I really love this book. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. Definitely check out my book review for this one, which I'll leave up above. But if you haven't read this, I suggest you do so. And last but not least, it is also written in verse. So there's that. Next book, I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. This is part of the Mirror series. This is the third book in the Mirror series. The first book was by Julia C. Dowell. The second book was by Danielle Clayton. And then this one is by J.C. Cervantes, and this is A Fractured Path. And this is the third book in the series. I really wish they had I could show you a picture, but I can't. Oh wait, here it is. So here is, like I said, here's the first book and here is the second book, if you can see that. So this is the third book, and it's following a generation of families. So in the first book, we're in Germany. Second book, we are in New Orleans. This book, we are in San Francisco. So this was a really good book. I love the pacing. I love the culture within this book alone. It was just beautifully well written. I love J.C. Cervantes' writing. It's mesmerizing. I had no problems with this book. The reason why I gave it 4 out of 5 stars is because I wanted more, but then again, I have to remember that this is part of a series. I think I just didn't like how it ended, but then I had to remind myself that this is part of a series. It's supposed to end on a cliffhanger. So if you haven't started reading the series, I suggest you do so. It's really, really good. It takes you on an adventure. You're going from Germany to New Orleans. From New Orleans, you're going to San Francisco. Who knows where we're going to be going in the 4th and final book of this Mirror series. So I definitely enjoyed it, loved it. So if you haven't read any of the books, I suggest you do so, and you definitely will have to read them in order, because if you don't read them in order, you are going to be confused. So start with the first book, read into the second book, and then go into the third book. And then I believe the fourth book is going to be by L.L. McKinney, and I think that book is going to be coming out next year in 2023. But yeah, I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I had read was I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. I did not rate this book because this is based off of her family, her experience, her past. There's really nothing more I could say about it. Her mom was abusing her in a, she was making her eat with restrictions, and stuff like that. the thing is, like, I wonder if her mom was around, like, what would her mom think? For me, if I wrote a book, just for me, I'm not talking about Jeanette McCurdy, this is for me. Like, if I wrote a book saying that I'm glad my mom died, that I feel, for me, I would feel that would be really, like, disrespectful, but that's for me if I did it. Now, for her, I can understand because she went through trauma and she's just glad her mom died and she can live her, live her best life, where she's not constantly hackled and tackled by her mother, So I understand. It's just like, for me, I don't know, even if my mom had done some things in my life, but even the things that she had done was terrible, but I still wouldn't have written that book about her per se, because it doesn't give her that, she's not able to speak her truth, or if she has any truth, there's always, two sides to one story. So, but that's just me. I know, but I understand what Jeanette McCurdy, she was going through a lot. So I give that to her. And so that's also the reason why I didn't rate her book, because it's her story. It's her story to tell. I cannot judge her by her story. I can't, only thing that I could possibly rate is like the writing style. I didn't like how there really was, like, there's 90 chapters, but it's a 300-page book. The chapters were chopped up, like really chopped up. Sometimes the chapters, like, I hybrid read it, or just I listened to it on audio, and the chapters are maybe like 2 to 3 minutes long. So yeah, that's why there's like 90 chapters. But mind you, it was like only 300 and something pages. So that's the only reason. If I did rate it, it would be based off of just the writing style and stuff like that. But I am not rating the book because, like I said, that's her story and I cannot judge her. I cannot rate her story. So, but that is another book that I did read in September. And then the next book that I had read, which Bree influenced me to read it, which I'm glad that she did, and that is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Sorry. Here it is right here. I really loved this book. Like, loved it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars because it was really, really good. It puts you in a perspective of how you live your life and how the universe, it tells you when things are meant to be. But then again, you have to allow the universe to do its work, to do its job. And how sometimes you need to step out of your fear and let the universe take over. Like, I really enjoyed that about your destiny and stuff. Let things go with the flow type of deal. Like, sometimes I wish I could do that with my life, but in the US, and I only can speak for the US because I live in the US, it's hard to just take that leap of faith and just go, because there's always bills attached to you. There's stuff attached, taxes attached to you. You just cannot break away and be free. But I do love the aspect of this book. I do plan on reading more, by this author, because I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad that Bree recommended it to me. From Bree Reads, I'm glad she recommended it to me, and I was just blown away by this book. And it's not even that long, but for it to be sat short and for me to like think about my own life and about what I'm doing with my life, that says a lot. So I gave it definitely a 5 out of 5 stars, and I'm looking forward to reading more by Paulo. So that's another book that I read in September. And then the next book that I read, which I did a whole review about for this graphic novel, and that is Human Remains. This was just fantastic. I'm not even gonna say nothing more about it. Of course, I gave it a 5 out of, I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. It is really good, but I'm not gonna say anything more because you gotta check out my book review for this. So I'll leave that up above. Make sure you check that out after you watch this video. So yeah, I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars for Human Remains. And then I also read Monster Volume 3 and Volume 4, and I really am enjoying this. I believe for Volume 3, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, and for Volume 4, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I think for me, Volume 3 was just a little bit slow for me, but then Volume 4, it definitely picked up, and there was a lot of reveals. Like, a lot, and I loved it. So I also read those 2 mangas by Naoki Urasawa. Really enjoyed that because I'm part of a read-along for Monster, and I'm just happy to be part of it. I'm happy to step out of my comfort zone and read something, and I'm glad that I did because I really am enjoying Monster. So those are the 2 volumes that I read in September. And then the next book that I read was Saga Book 2, and I really enjoyed this. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars, y'all. Yes, I did, and I loved it. I'm looking forward to reading book 3 and also reading the volume 10 that just came out. So I'm really looking forward to reading this book about Hazel, more about Hazel and the family and stuff like that. What is their future? What does their future look like? Because they've been going everywhere trying to live a peaceful life, and they just obviously just can't catch a break. So yeah, I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars, and I really, really enjoyed it. So there you have it. But that is it. These are all the books that I finished reading in September. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please, please, please give me a thumbs up. Also, hit that subscribe button and that bell to be notified when I upload more videos in the future. But thank you so much for watching, everyone. And please stay healthy and stay safe. See ya.